as our speaker. She will also be speaking the coming 2 Saturdays, so for a total of three talks. Her topic is The Light That Shines Through Infinity, commentaries on Katagiri Roshi's book. The full title is The Light That Shines Through Infinity, Zen and the Energy of Life, which she edited. Andrea Ansei Martin began practicing at Minnesota Zen Meditation Center in 1978 after practicing transcendental meditation for several years. She became a student of Dainin Katagiri Roshi and received the lay Buddhist precepts from him in 1980. She heads the Dainin Katagiri Archives and is author of the biographical essay, Ceaseless Effort, The Life of Dainin Katagiri. Andrea edited 2 books of his teachings, Each Moment is the Universe in 2007, and The Light That Shines Through Infinity in 2017. In 2020, she was recognized as a lay teacher by Ted O'Toole. She's a retired research librarian, blessed with a large family of children, stepchildren, and grandchildren. And now both Trey and Tasia want to say a few words.
Thanks, Anne. I just want to remind everyone about the practice and spirit of dana, and I'll just read a brief statement about that. In Buddhism, when Zen practitioners share their understanding of the teachings and practice, it is offered freely as a practice of dana paramita. Dana is a Pali word that means generosity or to give freely, and this practice is done without expectation of getting something in return. This is the spirit of speaking about the Dharma. Other ways to practice dana are to offer support to those who share the teachings, to support places of spiritual practice, and to give without judgment of expectation when opportunities arise. Those who share the teachings at Great Tree do so on a dana basis. Please support their practice by giving what you can. You can either do this directly or through Great Tree, and we will pass it on to them. And so in the chat, you can find Great Tree's donation page. And if you choose to donate, you can specify if it's for Andrea, and it'll be passed on to her. And I just want to remind everyone too that this is being recorded and will be posted on Great Tree Zen Women's Temple YouTube site. Thanks.
I also want to mention about dana that please send us an email letting us know that you've made a donation for Andrea, specifying that it's for Andrea, because for some reason our PayPal doesn't allow that. But the link, you can just go to this link that Trey has posted. I wanted to do a little bit of an introduction here because I'm so taken with what Andrea has done with her editing. She's edited 2 books now. Each Moment is the Universe and The Light That Shines Through Infinity. And I have transcribed many of Katagiri Roshi's lectures and am completely unable to edit them, partly because of the way he uses English, which is kind of with a Japanese style of speaking, and also because he goes off on great tangents. So it's kind of hard to pull it all together. So I have great admiration for Andrea for being able to do this. And I do feel that this particular book, The Light That Shines Through Infinity, from the time I picked it up, I feel like it was Katagiri Roshi's voice. So a lot of people have told me they don't necessarily understand what he's saying, but if you get to know his voice a little bit by reading through the book, you will get to know Katagiri Roshi. So I really am grateful that Andrea has come, and she's going to be giving 3 talks for the next 3 weeks, which is not nearly enough, but it's a good start. Thank you, Andrea.
Thank you, Tejo. I am really happy to be here, and thank you and Anne and Trey for the lovely introductions. Tejo and I have been, I guess I would say, Dharma sisters for a long, long time. She was a great support to me through many years at the Zen Center when Katagiri was still alive, and we practiced together. And I'm glad we've stayed in touch, and I'm really happy to be with your Sangha today. And I feel like today is an unusually auspicious day because the beautiful email that came out from Great Tree last night, wishing us all a happy new year, showed the picture of the ox, and which reminded us too of the ox herding pictures. And the ox is really beloved in Zen because of those ox herding pictures, where the ox herder goes on a spiritual quest to find wisdom and discover his own Buddha nature. The other thing that's happening is that tomorrow is Valentine's Day, and we think about love. And in Buddhism, love is often talked about in terms of compassion. And I remember Katagiri Roshi once saying that Buddhism is a way of life based on wisdom and compassion. So today we are right smack in the middle between Chinese New Year's Day and Valentine's Day, and we can be together with wisdom and compassion. So I just feel lucky that today was the day I got to be here with you. And yes, we're going to talk about Katagiri Roshi's book about spiritual energy, which is expressed as wisdom and compassion. And I understand some of you have been already studying this book for probably varying lengths of time. And I think that's really, really wonderful, because it means that Katagiri Roshi's teaching is still alive and available, and that you're getting to know him and understanding his, what I believe to be rather unique approach to studying Zen and practicing Zen. So as you know, the book is about the cosmic or spiritual energy that animates the universe. And as far as I can tell, this energy was not much spoken about in Buddhism in general until Buddhism moved into China. And when it got to the Chinese culture, it encountered the indigenous religions of Taoism and Confucianism. And that had a lot of influence on how, especially how Zen developed within that culture. And those religions had a very precise and ancient understanding of spiritual energy or cosmic energy. And in the end, Zen became a specific school of practice within Buddhism under the influence of that understanding of cosmic energy. That's my take on it now. It was really exciting for me when I started working with that idea and studying what Katagiri had to say about it, but it wasn't my original idea for this book. My original idea was to talk about light. The reason was that Katagiri Roshi talked about light or referred to light many times when he was speaking, and I never really could understand exactly what he meant by light. You know, was it a metaphor, or was he actually talking about something real? But what happened was that when I started to look for material that I could work with and produce a book, I didn't find enough material to justify an entire book on the subject. So I felt kind of stuck. But then one day I was watching a science show on TV, and I heard the statement that light is a way of transmitting energy through space. And I thought, oh, okay, energy, light, energy. And it was kind of an aha moment for me when I realized that I could expand my point of view to include energy. And when I did that, a whole lot of material opened up for me. And it was kind of thrilling from an editor's point of view and a practitioner's point of view as well. There was one particular talk that had kind of stayed in my mind after I had edited the previous book, Each Moment is the Universe. It was a talk that he gave about a gatha that you can say, that's a short 4-line verse that you can say when you approach the altar to offer incense. And you can say it internally. I've never heard it spoken out loud, but it's a beautiful thing to say to yourself. I had tried to use it in the previous book, but it ended up as a leftover because it didn't quite fit there. And but I kept it, and it's in this book now as chapter 10. And what I had loved about it was the second line of the gatha, which goes, "Radiant light of the Buddhas emits throughout the Dharma world." In the end, I got really surprised because the title that Shambhala Publications gave the book, which was "The Light That Shines Through Infinity," was really, in a way, a restatement of that line, "Radiant light of the Buddhas emits throughout the Dharma world." So there was a full circle there for me, and I really enjoyed that. So when I expanded my topic from light to energy, I recalled a conversation that I had with Katagiri Roshi and Tomoe Katagiri one night at an event at Zen Center called a Chosan, Chosan. I don't know if you do those at Great Tree or not, but it's an evening where the students and the teacher get together, and it's drink tea, and it's kind of an open forum where you can ask the teacher any question that you want to. And I had come that one night to ask a specific question. My elderly father-in-law was living in my home while he was being treated for cancer. And the doctor was starting to approach the question of maybe it was time to withhold further treatment and to let him go. So I went with the question of, how do you make a decision like that? And I don't really know what I was expecting. I think maybe something about Buddhist ethics, but that isn't what happened, because Katagiri Roshi started talking about life force energy. And then Tomoe picked up the thread and started telling me that my father-in-law had 3 energies, and that when his energy was used up or ran out, then he would pass away. And at that point, I did not know a lot about the Chinese ideas of energy. So I was really, really confused. I think I managed to say something like, so I should just take good care of him and let the universe do the rest. And Katagiri Roshi just looked very, almost somber, and he just nodded his head very slowly. As it turned out, there never was a need to make a final decision like that. And my father-in-law passed away very quietly in our home. But I think that the seed of the book somehow got planted in my mind that night when Katagiri Roshi started talking about life force energy. And in the end, I used life force energy as a framework to think about how Katagiri Roshi's teachings could fit together as one integrated point of view. I had done that before with each moment as the universe, using time as the unifying theme. And I felt that it was a good way to look at his teachings, which could be so diverse, but to somehow pull them together so that you could think about them coherently. I've since learned that according to traditional Chinese medicine, which in Japan is practiced as Kampo, K-A-M-P-O, there are 3 life energies in the body: Jing, Qi, and Shen. And they are known as the 3 treasures. And they are related to Taoist philosophy. Jing is considered the essence, and it's a set amount of original energy given to a person at conception. Jing energy enters our tissues and becomes the root of our body. Qi is vitality. It's cosmic energy associated with the air or our breath. It animates life, furnishes functional power for movement and change, and links us to the universe as a whole. Qi energy is important because it can be enhanced after we're born. And this Qi energy is the one that we're most familiar with now and is often just used as a word as if everyone might understand what it means. And the third one is Shen, S-H-E-N, which is the spirit or mind energy. And it's developed when the Jing and Qi are in balance. And it's said that when our Shen is strong, we have peace of mind and glow with spiritual light. When Buddhism arrived in China, it met Taoism and met the 3 treasures of Taoism. And those 3 treasures became associated with the Buddhist triple treasure of Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. And I'm not sure that these 2 systems of understanding a triple treasure line up exactly. But in the book, Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha are understood as 3 aspects of one life energy. So I want to read a short excerpt from what's actually the 2nd page of the book, because I think it captures in my heart the essence of the book. Shakyamuni Buddha taught that a magnificent event is unfolding in every aspect of everyday life. Vivid, living energy is constantly at work, creating and supporting your life. It is just like a fire that is eternal and boundless. Whoever you are, your life is very precious because the original energy of life is working in your life. For me, it was a big surprise to hear Katagiri Roshi say that this is what Buddha taught. I usually think of Shakyamuni Buddha teaching the 4 Noble Truths and the Eightfold Noble Path, like a physician diagnosing an illness and prescribing a remedy. In other words, it starts with considering what's wrong with us. But Katagiri Roshi does something completely different. He sees Buddha's teaching in a much deeper way, and he starts with what's right with us. We are precious, and our life is supported by the universe. And to me, that is just a sustaining idea that we can carry through all of our approach to Buddhism and this book and life. Katagiri's claim that this is what Buddha taught, I think it goes back to the Mahayana Nirvana Sutra, where Shakyamuni said, although at this point, it's not really what he said, it's a Mahayana statement of what he said. All sentient beings, without exception, have the Buddha nature. So Buddha nature is something that's wonderful and is already alive in us. But our true nature may be hidden from us by the way our conscious mind works. But we can discover it through spiritual practice. So that's in a nutshell. So Katagiri Roshi says about practice, doing something as spiritual practice is to invoke the life force energy deep in your own life and use it to grow your life. Growth gives you room to cultivate wisdom and compassion, love and generosity, enough to create a wonderful world for you and all beings. And I think that brings out another aspect of Katagiri Roshi's teaching, which is creativity. The cosmos is constantly creating and recreating itself. So in every moment, there is a possibility for change and a possibility for doing something good. Now, that is the essential teaching of karma. Katagiri says, each moment is a unique opportunity to create your life anew. And because all life is one interconnected being, developing your life contributes to developing the whole world. And at the end of this opening section, he says, whatever practice you do, Buddhist practice, Christian practice, or non-religious practice, when you become aware of the magnificent energy of being arising in your body and mind, you feel fully alive. You are boundless and broad, compassionate and kind. This is the guideline for living as a human being. Experiencing full aliveness to the energy of our lives. I think this is Katagiri Roshi's wholehearted wish and hope for us. It permeates his teaching as a kind and generous response to the troubles of human life. And that's what draws us to our practice. We are so attracted to this, yet some of Katagiri's teaching is quite challenging because he dives into really complex material from Dogen and other very sophisticated Buddhist thinkers. This is not a beginner's book. I let him not hold back in this book and to really give you material that would not be considered at an introductory level. And yet I think you can, at any level, you can pick up something from it. I think at whatever level you feel you are when you approach this book, just receive it in an open-hearted way and don't fret over the things that don't make sense. This is exactly the way it was for us when we were actually sitting in the room listening to Katagiri Roshi. So much of it just completely passed by. To me, it sometimes just seemed hopeless that I would ever understand what he was really talking about. And yet, in another way, that was okay, because it just seemed like it was wonderful just being there and being in his presence, and his presence, his voice, his way of being with us, the warmth of his presence, that was something just in and of itself that was a teaching. So I hope, like Tejo says, that you can pick up something about what it would be like to be with him from taking in his words. But all that said, I do feel like I need to say something about the philosophical foundations of his teaching, because he makes throughout the book, he's referring to philosophy. So today I want to just talk a little bit about how we got there. Starting just to say briefly, the Mahayana movement emerged in India after Buddha's lifetime, when monks following that path and engaging with the teachings realized that they had a deeper significance that was embedded in Buddha's teaching without maybe always being explicit because of the audience that he was giving the original teachings to. But that after years of development and experience with the practices he gave, the monks began to develop the intellectual basis of the philosophy. They developed new sutras that they presented as if they had been spoken by the Buddha, which made them controversial, but there was a sense that they were somehow channeling Buddha, I guess would be the best way to say it. And one very influential one was the Avatamsaka Sutra, called the Flower Ornament Sutra. And that's the sutra that contains the image of Indra's net, which is a really lovely image that conveys so much that you can intuitively understand by visualizing it. According to the lore around the Avatamsaka Sutra, it was what Buddha said immediately after he attained enlightenment. And he expounded from the point of view of enlightenment, but that no one that heard him could understand any of it. And so he regrouped, and he ended up formulating the teaching of the Four Noble Truths, which was more accessible to people. The story goes that this original teaching was never lost. And when the time was right, it was revealed and became the Avatamsaka Sutra. And the study of that sutra developed into the YN school in China. And that school sees the universe as one dynamic, interconnected, interpenetrating whole body of existence, in which everything is influencing everything else. And I think that is Katagiri Roshi's primary vision. He drew on many other philosophies, especially from the Yogacara school and its philosophy of different layers of consciousness. But the Huayan vision of the interconnected cosmos was his core vision. And he wanted to understand ourselves as living within that core reality. I think it's so easy to hear words like reality or to talk about the philosophy, and it sounds like something abstract. But Katagiri Roshi often said, I am not talking about an idea, I am talking about something real. So when I began editing his teachings, I tried to imagine what seemed like philosophy as actually a description of my life. And to make the teachings real, I kept trying to find ways to relate the teaching to my own experiences. And actually, for me, that was the only way I could do it, because I'm a librarian. I'm a research librarian, and I'm an editor. And my mind is very practical. I don't trend into the abstract. I just don't have a desire to go there. So my hint for you in reading it is to engage with it as if Katagiri Roshi is telling you the story of your own life, and to find ways to bring your own experiences that are in your heart and mind into whatever he's saying, and see where you resonate with him. And this is one of the useful ways that worked for me to think about the philosophy. I think it's a creation story without a creator. And in the story, the universe is constantly and eternally creating and recreating itself. And it does that in a series of unique moments. The moments begin and end so quickly that our human consciousness can't pick up on them, they can't recognize them. So it sees life as one continuous motion or unfolding, when it's really actually a series of still moments that our brain, not really still, but of unique moments, discrete moments would be a better word, that our brain stitches together as one continuous thing. It's kind of like a movie. I mean, when you think a movie is a continuous action, but it's really a series of still images that our brain puts together. Dogen claimed that the universe is created and recreated 6,400,099,180 times a day. And that number, as far as I can trace it back, comes from a very ancient Indian system for measuring time as instants of existence that are called kasanas. Dogen picked up on this instantaneousness of existence and use this understanding of a moment-by-moment creative process as the essential way of understanding what is meant by the Buddha way, that we are all traveling in this process of instantaneousness. So in this system, when a moment begins, so this is what's happening this 6 billion times a day. When a moment begins, the universe is in a state of vast emptiness or formlessness, in which all life exists as energy, but it has no solid form of any individuality. And then that energy starts to move, and it constructs or reconstructs itself into the material world, or what Katagiri calls the phenomenal world of individual beings like you and me. And that happens according to the causes and conditions that have ripened in that instant. So we appear for a very short amount of time, we live, and then our individual form dissolves and returns back to that original formless energy. The cycle begins again in the next instant, but the you and I that appear are a little different, because the causes and conditions that were ripening in that moment are different. And so there is change. This is the teaching of impermanence and interdependent co-origination. And it's where creativity is shown to be constantly present in our lives, where whatever's happened in the past is only fertilizer for the future, and we have the ability to do something new and create something new in every moment. It's a very positive approach to life. This constant movement between form and emptiness is what Katagiri Roshi calls the rhythm of life. You'll see that term throughout the book, along with terms which come from Dogen, total dynamic working. Is also the Buddha way, or simply Tao. These are significant words that you just see them there. If you can associate this rhythm of appearing and disappearing, form and formlessness, you'll kind of get the spirit of this constant movement or cycling. One of the ways I focused on the teaching was to look at it in terms of Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. So in this book, those ideas, which can be understood on many, many levels, from the Buddha himself, his teaching, and the Sangha of people who developed around him, all the way to many much more deeper philosophical levels. So in this book, I worked with Buddha as the original energy, Dharma as the energy's creative phase when interdependent co-origination is at work, following the laws of the universe, and Sangha as energy's embodied phase when it appears as the human material world of individual beings, which Katagiri Roshi often calls all sentient beings. And in that phrase, all sentient beings, it doesn't necessarily mean people that have sentient minds like human minds. It just means everything that exists, animate or inanimate, in the phenomenal world. I know it sounds abstract. Just to talk about it, it sounds like I don't know, could this really be real? But I have come to understand that this way of thinking about or being aware of what's going on around us is that it is based on mystical experiences of enlightenment, in which things are seen and understood in a different way. I think when Katagiri talks about things, he's often using that point of view, which is why it makes it a little hard for us to follow, because we're not coming from the same place most of the time. But when he does talk about things from that point of view, it becomes very lyrical. It's very tender. It's very moving. It's like reading a poem or hearing someone sing a song to you. Unfortunately, it's hard for us to understand because of the way our human consciousness imposes a barrier or a veil over our awareness of what an enlightened person is seeing. And that's why we sit Zazen. That's why we follow this path, is to release our mind from that barrier, to find a gate, to enter into a different awareness. Katagiri Roshi was always giving us suggestions about how to do that, how to become aware of our natural spiritual energy. Because when we do connect with it, even very, very slightly, we realize how sublime human life is. And we can enjoy just being alive, not doing anything, not having expectations, but just being present in our life as it actually is, in the pure, joyous way. Thinking about the triple treasure, I selected 3 of Katagiri's many slogans, or mottos. He had a lot of these brief statements that he would return to over and over again. that for many of us who knew him have stuck with us. We remember them. So I have three for you. The first one is relax your frontal lobe. This represents Buddha to me. Your human mind is a really, really good storyteller. It's always building up on the surface of our hearts and minds, building our human personality through our habits, long ingrained habits of thinking and feeling. But to be wise and compassionate people, we want to reach into the deeper levels of our minds and develop our total personality. That's Katagiri's phrase, total personality. I think relax your frontal lobe means to let go or withdraw your attention from your running inner narrative and let your awareness just simply drop deeper and tune into the energy area near your warm heart. And you can rest there and restore yourself there. Then you can bring that energy back up to the surface of your life. And doing that makes you feel that you're more real and life is more worthwhile. So this is the wisdom of letting go as taking refuge in the Buddha. The second motto is let the flower of your life force bloom, which for me is Dharma. Blooming is opening yourself to the energy of the moment that is arising in you right now. It reminds me to live wholeheartedly as a practice. The big sense of the word practice is to receive and use the creative Dharma energy that is becoming you. The whole universe is doing this all the time. Maybe we don't talk so much about the energy aspect of Zazen practice, but if you sit, you might become aware of the feeling of energy arising in your body. If so, just keep breathing into it. Keep your grasping mind away and just be present with it. You can do this in any aspect of daily life, being mindful of its presence while you're washing the dishes or just moving around your home. This is really the essence of mindfulness for me. It also helps in difficult situations. One of Katagiri Roshi's teachings in this book is to stand up straight and be master of yourself in whatever situation you may be in. One time I served as Katagiri Roshi's attendant on a trip to Nebraska. A group of us were in the downtown area and Katagiri was wearing his robes. And suddenly some people started jeering and heckling him. And it felt dangerous. But Katagiri just kept walking straightforwardly in his normal, composed manner. And I found his presence of mind deeply settling for me. He really showed me what it looks like to depend on the Dharma. The third motto is walk together hand in hand. And for me, this is Sangha. I love the image of walking hand in hand. Walking is a rhythmic activity where one foot is in front and the other is behind, and then they change places. So walking can be a metaphor for the rhythmic movement of energy between form and emptiness. Saying we are walking together reminds me that my life is always interconnected with other people's lives. I've done only a little Tai Chi now, but I quickly became aware of the energy in my hands. Reiki healers use that energy to heal others. Before sitting in Zazen, we put our hands on our legs with the palms up. It's a receptive gesture. Then we hold our hands together to form the cosmic mudra, which is a merger of the left hand being representing wisdom and the right hand representing compassion. And we place it against our abdomen, which is the Dantian energy center in the human body. And at the end of Zazen, we put our hands palm up again. And I think this is a gesture of offering the energy of our Zazen back into the universe. We offer it back to benefit all beings, and our two hands become two of the 1,000 hands of Avalokiteshvara, Bodhisattva of compassion. Holding hands for me is such a sweet thing to imagine. I'm a grandparent. Holding hands with a grandchild is exquisite for me. Any two people drawn together, they instinctively hold hands. They're taking refuge in each other, offering their energy to each other and exchanging trust and safety. For me, this vision of mutual care and support is the essence of Sangha. So just to wrap up, I think for Katagiri Roshi, Buddhist teaching is an invitation. It's an invitation to see ourselves in a bigger way and learn how to live our lives in harmony with the reality of how things are. His voice was kind, and he expressed a warm, positive regard for anyone who listened. I hope you can get a sense of his warm heart through his readings because, as I said before, his manner of speaking was integral to his teaching. He knew and respected the suffering of life, but at the same time, he's always reminding us of the beauty of life. And he tries to show us the depth and significance of our life. We participate in a creative universe and our lives always make a difference. I produced this book during a time when my life was very difficult. Working on it gave me a way of studying with Katagiri through that time. Editing it was a real refuge for me. And the teachings helped me to work with my life in a positive way. And I hope this book will help you to work with your life story and that your Zen practice will give you refuge, hope, and happiness. So thank you so much for letting me come back to the teachings of Katagiri on this occasion and to be with you to think about them. I welcome any of your questions, your thoughts. It doesn't have to be about my talk or in particular, but anything about Katagiri Roshi, whatever you might like to talk with me about. I would love to hear from you about what's on your mind or anything. So we have a few minutes if you'd like to take the floor. It's yours.